All righty. You ready, sir?
Yep.
All right.
To get that kind of that bright reflection out of there. There you go.
Well, hello. I'm very excited tonight. This is Life's Copilot. I'm Jim Morgan. I'm with Caring Transitions. We created this Life's Copilot as a means to give free information to our seniors' families, and caregivers. And tonight we're talking to Bruce Muller with SHIP. Bruce is an expert on Medicare, and with SHIP. I'll let him explain all this stuff. They don't sell you insurance, but they basically guide you through the process. Is that a good analysis, Bruce? Or
Yeah, you're pretty well on target.
okay, well, introduce yourself and introduce SHIP,
Okay.
and let's
Okay.
get
No.
this thing rolling.
Okay. Again, my name is Bruce Muller, and I'm with SHIP, State Health Insurance Assistance Program. We are funded by Medicare or the federal government, if you will. And in Indiana, we are sponsored and fall under the umbrella of the Indiana Department of Insurance. So just like Jim said, we do not sell any insurance. We are not affiliated with any insurance companies, but we help navigate the seas of Medicare, and we can put you into certain policies and make the changes and help you understand what you're doing, have to do, when to do it, how to do it. So it doesn't matter whether you're a federal employee, TRICARE for life, postal employee. What do I do if I'm working past 65? I'm also on Medicaid. What happens? We can help you through all of that. We have about 200 volunteers around the state. It's a nationwide program. Every state has a SHIP program. And then we also partner with a lot of different agencies, such as here in Indianapolis, SACOA, and all of the senior services around the state. So many of you on this might already be on Medicare. And so that's what I'm really kind of talking about. If you're not already on Medicare, we can help you understand how to take it, and again, when to take it. But if you're on Medicare, you probably already know that we're approaching the open enrollment period, and that's from October 15th to December 7th. So this is an important time, and especially this year, it's a real important time to take a look at your insurance plans, whether you're on original Medicare and a supplement, or you're on an Advantage plan, because there's just been lots of changes. And for the most part, it's good. So during this open enrollment period, one of the things that may impact you is you could have lower out-of-pocket expenses if you have high drug costs, because of some of the drugs have reduced. Your premiums for either a freestanding Part D drug plan or even your Advantage plan may be going up. On an Advantage plan, some of your supplemental benefits may be reduced, like your dental or vision. Those are just now rolling out. Uh, some companies might have a higher deductible, co-pays, co-insurance are possible. And that might go for either a freestanding drug plan or an Advantage plan. And a lot of plans, they may cover fewer drugs. And then some of them may also start more use of the step therapy and prior authorization. Step therapy is where you start at a lower level, less expensive drug and see how that works, and then build up to the more expensive drugs. We think there's going to be a greater focus on generic drugs and a more limited situation with the brand name availability. So those are some of the things that you should be aware of. I know I just made a whole list, but mainly you've got to look at your plan and make sure of several things. You want to make sure that your drugs are in your plan. This is especially true for a freestanding drug plan. You want to make sure your drugs are in the plan and the co-insurances and everything, just like I mentioned. That's the first thing. Now, several of the things that you can do during the open enrollment period is you can change from an Advantage plan to another Advantage plan. You can change your prescription drug plan, the freestanding plan. You can change different plans. You can cancel an Advantage plan and go back to original Medicare, Part A and B, and enroll in a freestanding drug plan. Or you can cancel, your Advantage plan and enroll in a freestanding drug plan and get a Medicare supplement to cover it. So the important thing is to look at your plan. Now, if you're on an Advantage plan, you probably have started receiving the annual notice of change. I know in most years people get it along with all the other junk mail at this time of year and maybe don't look at it. This year, it's real important to look at it and go through it line by line to make sure it's doing what it needs to do. And if it's not doing what it needs to do, then you can shop for another plan, whether it's original or you want an Advantage plan. Some of I just looked at one of my relatives' plan, and their dental, yes, their dental was free for $1,500 worth of coverage. And now it's a $50 premium for the same coverage. And I always point out on an Advantage plan, when it says it's $1,500, that doesn't really mean that you have total of $1,500 to use, from the bank, because if your dentist charges $300 a surface for a filling, your plan might only give you back $150. So that doesn't mean that it's going to cover all of your dental. But the other thing on this individual's plan was that the over-the-counter benefit of just being able to buy various vitamins and Band-Aids and all those things, that disappeared. So you might, think, maybe you've had I don't know, $40, $75 over-the-counter benefit that you had each quarter, that may be disappearing. The other thing you want to make sure is that your doctors are in the plan, because this is when a doctor can look and say yay or nay. In fact, a doctor can actually add to join or delete himself in a plan at any time of year. So you want to make sure that all your drugs are covered. You want to make sure that your doctor is covered, and some of the extras that maybe you were depending on, you want to make sure those are covered too. So again, you have from October 15th to December 7th to do this. How do you do it? You can do it yourself. You can go online to Medicare.gov and make sure you go to .gov and not go to .com, because if you go to .com and give somebody, most likely an insurance company, all your information, you now have a best friend for life. So make sure that you are going to the government site. And then our plan finder is there. And one of the things that we recommend doing, if you haven't already, is open an online account, because what that's going to do is that will keep track of all your drugs for you. So when you go back to it a year from now to make sure your drugs are on the plan, they're all listed there. So all you have to do is either add to or delete. And then from that site, you can shop for other plans. So if you're on an Advantage plan, you need or want to shop for another Advantage plan, that's easy enough to do on that site. And it's very user friendly. You just have to, like any other site, if you will, you have to, develop a username and a password, and then you're all set to go. And if you ever do lose your password or username, it's not difficult to get it back. But it's a great way to see what benefits and everything you can get through Medicare. And again, it's easy enough to shop, but by looking at your drugs. And one of the things that we find that people do, unfortunately, is they maybe shop by bells and whistles and not really paying attention to the meat and potatoes, as in their drug plan and the other medical benefits that are in the plan, making sure that their doctor's in the plan, that they're maybe something some other service that they might go to, their specialist, for instance, to make sure they're all in the plan. So that that's what can be done right now at this time of year. Now, if you're happy with your freestanding drug plan or your advantage plan, no action is required at this point in time. It will just renew. And then also too, depending on your financial situation, or if you know anybody that has a financial situation that's really hard for them to pay for the outstanding Medicare cost, there's a program called the Medical Savings Plan. And that's for somebody who is making less than about $1,900 a month. And what that will do is that will pay for a lot of the co-payments and that Part B premium of $174 that everybody pays. And then that will automatically tie them into a drug program called Extra Help. Somebody could call Medicare and ask about if they're eligible for this plan, and Medicare might say, "Oh no, you make too much money." But in Indiana, our limits are higher, believe it or not, so we can help a few more people. It's not like it's a lot of money higher, around $100 or so, but that $100 can make the difference between the person getting on that program or not on that program. So if you know somebody that is in a situation where their income is limited, um, you can call us and we can screen to see if you're in that program, and then fill out an application and send it to the state. So that's the major changes that are going on this year. One of the biggest changes is next year your drugs will be capped at $2,000 maximum out of pocket. I know that still sounds maybe to a lot of you like, wow, that's still a lot of money, but to a lot of money, a lot of people, that's a really good deal. So that's good news.
What's been capped at to this year?
Well, you fall into the donut hole. That's all gone.
Okay, but it was what, 6,000 or
Yeah, it's yeah. And so now nobody has to explain the donut hole. You don't have to worry about the donut hole. I live in Indianapolis, so the only donut holes I'm interested in are Long's Donuts. So, but that's good news. You don't have to worry about it. Now, in conjunction with that, there is now a program where you can spread the payments of your pharmaceuticals out. Now, that doesn't mean that it's really going to save you any money. That program just means that it'll help you iron out the cost, especially the first part of the year. If somebody's got a drug plan with a $590 deductible, now that you can sign up for this program by calling your company, but either your drug company, your independent drug company, or your advantage plan, and tell them you want to go on the drug saving program. And then what that will do is that will iron out the cost. So if you have January, you have a $1,000 drug, that's going to break that cost down through the rest of the year. And then in June, you get another new drug, or even the same drug, that's going to add that in, and then it's going to recalculate the cost for the rest of the year. So the further along you get in the year, you're still going to have these payments, because if you keep adding on to it in June and July and you only have through December to pay it off, you're going to have the higher amount, but at least it gives you a payment program, and it's a little bit of a help, especially for people who have a real high drug cost at the first of the year. And then when you reach your $2,000 limit, that's it. You will not be charged for any more drugs. And then the way that works is the program works when you go to the pharmacist and you've signed up for the program. You don't pay the pharmacist anymore. You just tell them you're on the program. They look it up. Yes, you're on the drug management program. You're all set to go, and then you will get a bill from the drug company, or your plan, I should say, for that monthly bill. Now, if you want to get out of it, you can pay it off. But just be aware that you owe that money, and they will send you the bill. So you do need to be aware that there's a bill that you do need to take care of, and that will go through the end of the year. and then it'll reset in January.
Is there interest on that, or?
No. Like I said, it's not a charge card, and again, it's not a money saving program. It's just to help you spread the payments out a little bit and manage it. There's a lot of people that's I'll just pay for it. It's no big deal. But there's a lot of people with some really expensive drugs, and they're going to want to spread this out a little bit. So all in all, it's pretty good for you. So that's one of the major changes coming up. Again, one of the big thing is you're going to find some higher cost if you have a freestanding drug program, a separate Part D plan. So you might want to do some shopping to see what the costs are going to be. And again, you either can work with our counselors or work with the agent that you already use. But the main thing you don't want to do is to get sucked in by the TV commercials. Please don't call any of these 800 numbers. If somebody calls you about any of your Medicare, don't deal with anybody like that on the phone. If you have a local agent, continue to use them or find a local agent. The best people to use really are people who are agents agents, because they might represent several different companies. But again, don't get sucked in with the ads. Now, the ads that you do see on television, and you see all these wonderful things from the people from previously actors from Hollywood who I guess need the money. Those programs that are promising you everything but a new car. Yes, those are programs for people who get both Medicaid and Medicare. Those are what we call dual eligibles. So yes, the Medicaid program does have more things in it from the drug companies. And that has changed a little bit this year. And you may have seen ads for something called Pathways. And you may, if you're on Medicaid and Medicare, you are now on Pathways. And what that is the Medicaid now all is taken care of by three of the major drug companies: Humana, Anthem, and United. And so any of those companies are going to do Indiana's Medicaid. And the result, hopefully, of that is better care, more coordinated care. And then, the state and the Department of Insurance has a little bit better control on the companies operating in Indiana, because they did have to meet specific requirements in order to be, the company of record. And again, other states have done this. I won't say that we're behind the ball on this. I think it's about 35 other states have done it. So we're about midway with other states in doing that program. And if you have any questions on that, then you would want to call Pathways itself, and then they can help you, through it. So that's if you're on Medicaid and Medicare. So that's one cost saving program. If you also have like I mentioned, the medical savings plan, which can help pay a lot of medical expenses. Plus, that ties into what is called extra help that will help take care of a lot of your drugs. So those are some programs that if you think your income is below that $1,900, then you can call us. You can call SHIP, and we can screen you for that. And that's not a very hard process. We just have a couple of basic questions for that program. Basically, your monthly income, your money in the bank, so to speak. It doesn't count your house or car, and a few other, financial situation. A few other of your financial situation, and we don't have to have a whole bunch of information. We can fill out the basics, and we send that into in the Indiana authorities, and then they're the ones that are going to call you back and do a little bit more of an in-depth interview as to whether or not you are eligible for that program. If you're new to Medicare, of course, we can walk you through what do I do, how do I do it, um, so on and so forth. And we can help you decide whether or not you want to do original Medicare with a supplement and a freestanding drug plan, or do you want to do an Advantage plan? So we can point out how they both work. We will never say, or one of our counselors will never say, this is what you should do in your situation. We won't do that. We explain how it works, and then it's still your choice. A lot of people get confused because they'll call us and say, well, they tell me I have to sign up for Medicare. A lady one time I talked to, she said, well, I understand I have to register for Medicare. I said, no, that's the draft that you have to register. I know only too well about that. Um, but so many times because while they tell me I have to sign up, they tell me, and then I ask them, who is they? And they say, oh, my fellow worker. There's the trouble. You have to be careful where you get your advice from about Medicare. It's a personal decision. Sometimes it's a financial decision between original and maybe an Advantage plan. Um, but so many people ask, oh, I talked to my sister in Fort Wayne. She loves this plan. I want this plan. Well, that plan may not be available. Your sister's situation is completely different than yours. Um, but you've got to look at the programs and weigh it, and then decide what you want to do and how you want to do it. And that's, some people get really bogged down in that process. You can overthink it and try to figure out why is it like this way, and that's where you go wrong, trying to figure out whys and hows. It's just certain rules are there, like for having a penalty if you don't sign up at the appropriate time. Um, and
And
people,
what is that? Tell me about that story. About
well,
the penalty,
so if you don't sign up, at the proper time, for instance, on Part B, it's going to be a 10% penalty, and that'll be a penalty on that Part B premium for the rest of your life. Part D, it has a similar, much less penalty, and the reason for it is because people say, well, why do I have to pay a penalty? I haven't used anything. Well, as many of you know, insurance is based on the pool, and the pool of people and the money going into the pool. And if you haven't been contributing anything to the pool, then you've got to pay a penalty in order to make up for it. But there is no penalty if you're going to continue working past 65. As long as you have what we call credible insurance, you don't need to sign up for Medicare yet. So there is no penalty for that. And then after you do leave that large group, which the employer has to be larger than 20 people, once you leave that program, then you have a period of time, 8 months, to sign up for Medicare with no penalty. And you can be on a spouse's plan, and you don't have to sign up. Sometimes where a problem comes in, somebody's on their spouse's plan and he or she wants to retire, and the other half is much younger, so they can't go on Medicare. Medicare is not by family, it's by individual. So then they have to look at marketplace, which can be expensive. I had a lady the other day that she's just struggling with, she's going to be working and has a plan, but she's trying to figure out which is a better way to go, her work plan or Medicare plan. And the answer to that is, I can't help you because I don't know all the details of your work plan. But I do find most often people stay on the work plan, but it depends. And then you do need to check with your employer to make sure their coverage is what we call credible coverage, meaning equal to or better than Medicare. Now, that brings me to one other point. If you've read some of the finance magazines, mainly Kiplinger, they had an article talking about the $2,000 maximum out of pocket for Medicare drug plans. And in the beginning, that was going to monkey up a lot of the plans that were out there for, for an employee. They talked about some of the drug plans were not equal to or better than Medicare. So the first instinct was that, you're not going to be able to keep your employer plan because of the drug situation. But that is not true now, at least for this year and next year. They're going to iron it out, but you don't have to worry about that if you're working and your employer is over 20 people and their plan is credible. You don't have to worry about that. But there are still some finance articles floating around that say that this is a problem, and it's not a problem, anymore. So that
we've got some people. I know we have at least one person on here that I know. They're coming up to the very first year for Medicare. So could you just kind of give us an overview of what Medicare is, Part A, Part B, Part C, Part D, whatever? You kind of go through the what they are, what they mean, so that someone has that in their back pocket.
Yeah. Okay. So Part A is predominantly the hospital. I'll just keep it real simple. So, Part A is predominantly the hospital, and then Part B is your doctor and specialist and that sort of thing. And then also in that Part B covers your durable medical equipment, a walker, a bed, and things like that. And then Part D is the drug plan. So when you go on what we call original Medicare, that's alphabet soup, you'll have A, you'll have B, and you'll have D. A is free, B is we're going to charge that premium of $174.10. Everybody pays that premium, whether you're on original Medicare or you're on an Advantage plan. Now, on original Medicare, we pay 80% and you pay 20%. Now, there's a way of having that 20% covered and any other co-pays or deductibles, and that's to buy a supplement or Medigap plan. And those are the plans that you might hear somebody say, oh, I'm on plan G, I'm on plan N. Somebody that's a little older might be still on plan F, which is no longer available. But when you're on plan G, there's a premium to it, and that's all supplied by individual insurance companies. And that on that type of program, you won't pay, you'll have a premium for that Medigap plan, but you won't have any other out-of-pocket expenses or anything. That's going to take care of, literally take care of everything. That has to be purchased within 6 months of you starting your Medicare. Otherwise, after that 6 months, now they can underwrite you, meaning that they can look at your health history and see if they want to take you. But up until that 6 month is over, to get that supplement plan, the only questions they can ask you are your age, did you smoke, your sex, and where do you live? That's it. So you could be deathly ill, just about on your deathbed, and that you get the same rate as anybody else. And the good news is all those plans are standardized, and they are all looked over by the state. Indiana and most states do a really good job of vetting all the insurance companies and making sure that everything's in place. So those are all standardized. So you don't have to call each company and say, hey, what's your plan G plan? Because they'll all tell you what their plan does, acting like theirs is something special. Now, some of the plans may have a little bit of a discount, such as a family discount. So if a husband and wife are on the same plan, they might give you, 5% discount. You'll see the cost determined by what we call age attained, obviously your age, or community rated based on the community. Those are disappearing. Most of them are all age attained. And I find that most of the time it all comes out, in the wash. But there is a site that you can go to on that. And, you can shop for that. So, and then you have Part A, Part B with a supplement, and then Part D, which is your drug plan. Uh, there are drug plans with very low cost if you're not taking a drug. Um, some people say, well, I don't take any drugs. I really don't need the drug plan, and I'm pretty healthy. Well, I don't know how you can guarantee that from personal experience, but then you would still have a penalty. Other people, say, hey, I get my drugs from Good RX or something. In fact, quite often the Good RX on the lower tier drugs, um, the prices are pretty good. And you can maybe even when you're on Medicare, there's one of the drugs you take still may be cheaper on from Good RX, but you can't use Medicare with it. And when you get to a lot of the fancy drugs and more complicated drugs, they may not even carry it, or the cost is going to be, pretty high. But one thing you don't want to do is really go without the drug. I find it's most men that say, "Hey, I'm healthy, everything is fine, and I don't really, need to do that." Um, but
We
so
have a question that just popped up. What if I have VA medical?
the VA is uh, does not coordinate at all with Medicare. VA hospital is not a Medicare hospital. If you're on VA, some people do get go on Medicare, and then it's like anybody else. That Part B, you would have the $174 premium, and that would also go to the 80/20 rule too. Or you can go to an Advantage plan if you want. You would need to have Part A, and then you get your Part B. But quite honestly, if quite a few people just stick to their VA and they're happy with it. Sometimes people want to pick up a drug plan because the VA mails all their drugs, and they might want them quicker than they have. But we're pretty fortunate in Indiana. My personal experience has been that our VA is pretty good, but the Medicare does not coordinate with it, so there's no way of tying it in unless you go separately on a Medicare plan.
Okay. So now one of the things I was wanting to ask about, me personally, probably hanging out with you guys and some other people in the industry, we run into the conversations that take place that probably don't get into the street very often. But I jumped off I was on Advantage for 2 years and jumped off into the standard and was able to do that without and got qualified, I guess is what it comes down to. But what one of the questions that I have, you were talking about, I think you told me a story a while back about a lady that you helped with a drug plan that was paying thousands and thousands of dollars more than she should have been because she was on the wrong plan.
Well, what happened was, yes, that was at our site at IU Hospital in Bloomington, and a lady was paying a little. I think she was paying about $33,000 out of pocket. And her doctor said, you need to go see these folks at this, the ship office, because this drug should be covered. Well, she came to us, and it was during the open enrollment period, and we ran the drug finder for her, help, tongue tied, and found a plan that covered her drug. And I think she was paying about $32,000 out of pocket, and this covered it except for some copay, so on and so forth. So it covered. We found a plan that covered her, $30,000 plus drug. The good news is that she had the financial wherewithal to pay it, but the bad news is she had the financial wherewithal to pay it and never questioned it. And I just had a meeting with our organization today with a company that's tied into Medicare to help people know what their rights are and so on and so forth. And we were just talking about how so many people don't ask any questions and just assume, well, this is the way it is, whether it's something to do with their drug plan, or just something to do with whatever service or just whatever they've got, going on with their health. And, we do know sometimes with people who are much older than me and you, Jim, and where you just didn't question the doctor. The doctor said, and you take that to the bank, where nowadays, you can question and do other things. But you really need to, have your wits about you as to, what's going on, and stay educated through the various programs and information that is out there. And that's why we're doing such a major push this year about the changes in the Medicare plans. Now, no plan, none of the major companies are dropping anybody in Indiana, but across the country, one of the major companies is dropping about 200,000 beneficiaries. So, obviously they'd have, great information about that. But just going back to looking at your plan, knowing what your plan does, knowing what your drug plan does, knowing what what your avenues for any recourse are. For instance, if a plan does turn that had a prior approval and you're turned down for that, there's an appeal, and so you can appeal. And in most cases, they reverse it. But a lot of people don't do it, and just say, well, that's the way it is. I guess I can't get whatever done. So we really, want people to understand, what they can do. And again, going back to SHIP, we're here for any kind of question. I mean, we get easy questions, hard questions. Some people get themselves in a real jam. And believe me, we have to, we've got some people on our staff who can stand on their head and figure out a lot of the situation. We have a gentleman who retired from Social Security, so we have a good tie into that. Well, we meet every month with FSSA and get updates as to what they're doing with Medicaid. And then one of the other things too is that we have a lot of people that call, I don't know what my drug plan is. So there's a few questions we try and determine. Well, we got a pretty good idea this is what you're doing, but all of our counselors and me, we have what we call a unique ID number and a special number to Medicare. So I can call, or my counselors or my volunteers can call Medicare and see, with this unique ID and with the proper information, we can see, what's going on. So if Jim didn't know, had no idea what his plan is, with the proper information and my unique ID, I can call Medicare, and we get a person with a higher level of expertise, if you will. We don't get the person that just started working at Medicare 2 weeks ago. So we can pretty well handle any situation that comes along.
Well, I think that one of the things that I have from my experience, I'm in year 3 of mine at this point. What I have found is that it's very helpful to use someone like yourself, or someone that is a professional, agent in this as well. So because I read that stuff and I come out going, my eyes are crossed. I don't really even know what's going on. So and I've been in business my whole life, but I still find that all that mumbo jumbo in the different plans wears me out. So
yeah. And again, that's one of the things that we can do is help you through it. But a lot of people really don't really know what their plan, what their plan does. And that's one of the things, especially in the beginning, we really want you to know what's going on. Even when people are signing up for it, you can come to us, we can sign you up for it. You can go to an insurance agent, they can sign you up, yes. But you can also do it yourself and do the research. And I find it's kind of nice if if you're capable of doing that, it really helps you understand more exactly what you're doing. And using an agent is fine, especially using someone that's local. And I tell people that yes, it is a commission-based position in 99.9% of the cases, but I was a commission sales rep during my regular working career, and I took real good care of my accounts because that's the only way I was welcomed back into their business. And I think the same goes for a good insurance agent. They're going to take care of you. because they don't want to lose you as a customer. So again, sometimes people, there's no advantage to going online and buying it or an agent. The cost and everything and the rules and everything are all the same.
Yeah,
You know,
there's you're not paying the commission. It's the same cost to you no matter whether you have it.
that's right. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're not saving. Hey, if I go online, I'll get a better deal. That's not the case. But a good, if you're brand new to Medicare, a good agent will go through that. Now I'll go back. I kind of got off track when talking about the original Medicare.
yeah.
That's when you make that decision. Do I want to do original Medicare or do I want to do an Advantage plan? When you go on, and let's say you're just turning 65 and you go on an Advantage plan, you do have a year trial right. So after, up until a year, you do have the ability to go, to back to original Medicare and then get that supplement. So you do have a chance to, take it for a ride and, see how you like it. Everybody's got their opinion. That's where it kind of goes wrong for people. Um, I like this plan. I like that plan. I don't like this. I want that. And a lot of it's based on personal experience. Medicare is a lot harder. It's not like buying house insurance or car insurance where, when you call an agent, hey, what's your deductible and what's the coverage? And he asks you, how old is your roof? And then, and a few other questions. But when you're deciding on Medicare, you're deciding on your health care really for the next, hopefully, many, many years.
So when someone calls ship, how does that work? They go into your office, or how does
Well,
that?
we have different sites, like in Indianapolis, for instance, we have sites at St. Vincent Hospital, Crestwood Village on the south side, Heritage Place at 46 in Illinois, Prime Life in Carmel. Bloomington, we have one at two sites, one through the hospital and one's at the mall. We get the other areas, there's different, we have different sites. There's also different agencies that have trained counselors. When I say trained, they've gone through a program that we call, being ship trained. It's an extensive 3-day course in Medicare. And then every spring and fall, they have update trainings. We have other trainings available to make them a specialist. And the people that are our volunteers are pretty unique individuals. My wife hears me talking to my volunteers on the phone, and she always says, I can't believe that somebody volunteers to do this, because there's a lot of work involved, but there's a lot of reward. I've been doing this for 7 years, and I've I always say, how many jobs do you have where people just say, God, thank you for what you guys do. You really helped me or my mother or my friend or something, or something like that. But we're available by phone. Sometimes I have several counselors who do everything by phone or Zoom. We can do that. But answer questions, maybe sometimes somebody say, well, look, I think I can do this myself. And I tell them, okay, through the evening, my office is in the house, and if I hear the phone ring, I can hear, what they're saying, and I'll pick it up and help them through the process, because we want to really make sure that someone takes their Medicare properly with the proper input, proper knowledge about the programs, because again, this is a decision that's going to last you for hopefully a long, long time.
Well, Bruce, right behind you is ship, right? That's the
Yeah, there it is.
It's SHIP.
Yeah.
Yes, probably have to be careful what you say in a hurry.
This was a tough job during COVID with a mask, believe me. And Jim, I promise by the time I do the next one, I will get that wall painted where I had,
Oh, I like it. It's more modern art that way. So,
Yeah, so all contributions to the painting, would be welcome. But it's a great program. Good information, really good people, working there. For instance, when I was talking about my counselors, I do have several attorneys that have been counselors. I have a former insurance agent who was a counselor. So if any of you are retiring or retired and looking for a real rewarding volunteer situation, we always are in need of good volunteers.
Well, Bruce, thanks so much for coming and sharing with us. I really appreciate it. This video, I will send you a copy in case you need it for anything. It will be on our Life's Copilot Facebook page. It will, in fact, it's on there right now. We're on live, and that live video will be there. I'll end up putting a YouTube video on there. Also, the easiest place to find a whole collection of these interviews like this with all different things for the senior world is in Life's Copilot YouTube page. Our website, we got a Squarespace website, and it has I think I've overwhelmed it. So when I put videos on there now, if you try to do it on your phone, it crashes the system. You can do it on computer, but I'm going to actually put a link to our YouTube Life's Copilot YouTube page on our Facebook page and also on our website, so people can find all these videos. So we've been doing these videos now for 4 years, so we've got a lot of these things available to people on Life's Copilot. So anyway, thank you so much. Thanks for sharing with us. We'll try to get this information out.
Okay, great.
See you guys.
Appreciate
Bye-bye.
it.